Legend has it, long ago before life came to be, this universe was known as the abyss, and all was nothing but a stage for light and darkness, who waged an eternal battle against one another. The dark would overpower the light when it grew dim, while the light would cast out the darkness wherever there was light. This war has been said to have always been, and before anything ever was. One day a powerful being came into the abyss from the unknown. He began to create, and from the forming of a cube, of dust and stone, to waters, to fire, to air, manifest onto the surfaces of the suspended cube of the abyss. Gardens began to flourish on the surface of each side of the cube, each rich in a single resource, different from the next. This creation grew beautifully, becoming inhabitable for life. The great being then molded and created life forms, beings to occupy and roam the land they eventually named Mageria. The life forms that inhabited Mageria were humanoid, with savage animalistic nature, and what they lacked ingenious potential intellect. They make up in physical feats. Primarily carnivorous, with eyes that allow them to see in the dark. They grow sharp fangs and claws known to be used to hunt and kill. With no need for weaponry, these Magerians people are able to lift up to 4,000 pounds and able to effortlessly climb and bury underground. Abilities to jump up to 200 feet high into the air and run up to top speeds, up to 60 mph. With the sense of smell that can target and trail a single scent glade. Up to 24 hours cold, within a 100-mile radius, under tens of thousands of other scents. And keen hearing frequency from 20-76,000 Hz, allowing them to pinpoint a single sound within loud chaos of over 100 other sounds. For centuries the Magerians lived together primitively as explorers, traveling all over the lands of Mageria together. Mageria being shaped as a cube, as a six-sided die, marked on each side. Mageria has 6 main terrain lands, unique to each side of the cube being the valleys, the mountains, the jungles, the wetlands, the plains, and the canyons. Each side of Mageria becoming known as a country, each filled with its own unique beauty and life. Aside from the differences in terrains on each side, each country was home to many things as well as resources different from the next country. Canines were known to inhabit the valleys, while felines inhabited the jungles, fowl found in the plains, reptiles in the wetlands, primates in the canyons, and bats in the mountains. Though animals filled and lived all across Mageria's entire land, these 6 particular animal species remained separate to their respective sides of Mageria, not venturing to other mainlands like other species may explore, so these 6 species of animal were foreign to each other. As time passed on, and the Magerian people's population continued to expand, different families took on different ideals and disagreements, eventually leading to separation from one another. With each division, the families left to inhabit a countryside on their own, claiming the land and its resources for themselves. This soon became a divide into 6 separate tribes. Translated, the tribes' names are the Quicksilver tribe, who settled in the valleys, the Moonstone tribe, who dwelled in the mountains, the Firestorm tribe, claiming the plains, the Nightshade tribe, settled in the jungles, the Sandome tribe, who settled in the canyons, and lastly the Jetstream tribe found in the wetlands. Each tribe making a countryside their own territory from the neighboring countries, from once a single, whole, beautiful land. Mageria divided, as the different tribes laid claim to the areas they settled in, becoming rich with the resource they were abundant in. Since Mageria doesn't possess everything needed to thrive in a single country, the Magerian countries, reluctant but desperate, began trading with one another. But as time passed on, and each tribe developed their countries from villages, to towns, to cities, finally into kingdoms, They began provoking wars with each other. For land and resources, when any got too powerful over the others, living alongside the animals native to their country. Each tribe developed a bond with their animal natives, inventing fighting styles with the characteristics of the animals. They also weaponized the animals by fighting wars alongside them. The Quicksilvers, as the canine fighting stance, stood on all fours, known to attack by swarming like a pack of wolves and howling to intimidate, fighting side by side in wolf packs. The Firestorm utilized the falcon. They favor aerial attacks by striking from overhead, holding their arms out at 10 and 2. They are known to keep distance and run around circling their target until they see an opening, then quickly strike, and then regain their distance till they tire out the opponent. All of the 6 tribes' fighting styles at its base are built on the observance of their animals, using these foreign and unorthodox fighting styles from each other in combat, soon making the emblems of their country their animal natives, wearing the image on their cloths. The animals soon learned to identify the different emblems, as well as the differences in Magarians as well, also becoming enemies of each other, attacking or fleeing against any Magarian or animal native that wasn't of their own country. The Magarians would hunt and kill the animals of the other tribes and keep the furs or head as trophies. The animals learned to identify tribes by mannerisms, as the Magarians over time developed distinguishable mannerisms reflective of their animal natives. The state of war continued in Magaria for decades, all for land, resources, and eventually women. Kingdoms against kingdoms eventually became kingdoms dividing against itself in mutinies, engulfing war across the entire land of Magaria. The great and powerful being who created Magaria looked upon his creation and was displeased at what he saw. The once beautiful land was filled with violence, brutality, and senseless killings. Even the beautiful land itself began to die. In his anger, the great being with his power molded and created 7 elemental beings, known as sages, and placed some of his own power into each of them, by name. Kyogre, the Sage of Storms, possesses super strength and the ability to summon and control thunderstorms, as well as wind and electricity. Komura, the Sage of Sorcery, possesses telekinesis and the ability to morph/change form and teleport. Statoma, the Sage of Healing, possesses regenerative powers and the ability to duplicate himself and control and manipulate the form of ground and stone. Origena, the Sage of the Waters, possesses abilities to manifest, control and manipulate water, change its form from ice to vapor and back, accelerate the growth rate of plants to manipulate the form of plants and wood. Ryoza, Sage of Burning, possesses abilities to increase his surrounding temperature, pyrokinesis with the ability to manifest fire as well as toxic, combustible, smoke and ash. Finally Kyuhinta, the Sage of Shadows, with hidden abilities, known only to possess abilities of shadow alchemy and telepathy. The 7th sage is said never to have been seen. He remains nameless, staying by the side of the great being, transcending with him between this universe and the unknown, with the powers given to the sages. They each were made to stop the wars and bring order and peace to Magaria again. The sages intervened in the wars, at first fighting against the kingdoms displaying their extraordinary powers. Each tribe quickly forfeited to the sages in hopeless defeat. The sages became worshipped by the Magarians, believed to be guardians angels from the great being. Soon each sage became a leader of a tribe, being crowned as their leader and king. Each sage ruled over a kingdom, once again bringing peace and order to the land. Kyogre ruled the Quicksilver Kingdom, in the Canine Valleys. Kyuhinta ruled the Moonstone Kingdom, in the mountains of the Bats. Ryoza ruled the Firestorm Kingdom, in the plains of the Fowl. Komura ruled the Nightshade Kingdom, in the feline jungles. Statoma ruled the Sandome Kingdom, in the Ape Canyons. and Origena ruled the Jetstream kingdom in the reptiles' wetlands. The sages organized their kingdoms, allowing them to fairly trade again and live in peace with the neighboring countries. The Magarians felt security in the rulership of the sages, that their king would use their extraordinary power and protect them from attacks from other mainland countries. After generations of peace have gone by, it wasn't long before the Sage of Shadows wanted more. He began to believe he should unite all the tribes under one kingdom, like in the elder days. He believed the only way to settle the division throughout the 6 tribes was to abolish each kingdom and build a single society ruled under one king. Hinter purposed this to his siblings countlessly in every council meeting, only to be quickly dismissed, as the other sages surely didn't want to give up their rulership over their respective kingdoms. Eventually, it troubled Hinter greatly to see the land still be divided. He felt as though no innovative progress has been made for generations. In the time the sages have become the rulers of Mageria, Hinter's vision of a one-world utopia, led by him, drove him to obsession. Began to plot against his siblings, in order to seize power for himself by turning them against each other. First, he went after his only sister Origena. Surely he thought if any of his siblings would be understanding to him, it would be their only sister. Hinter traveled from his mountain kingdom to the wetlands to meet with Origena privately and without his brothers knowing. Hinter filled Origena's mind with the sweet romanticism of his vision, and she began to believe in his ambition. This allowed for Q to easily sway Origena against her other brothers, manipulating her to think that her other brothers were indeed too blinded and power-hungry to allow Q's vision to manifest. Soon Origena left the wetlands to travel to the Canine valleys, to meet with Quiogra and try to convince him about a one-world rulership. Meanwhile, Hinter traveled to the feline jungle to meet with Komura. He filled Komura's head with lies that Origena and Quiogra are conspiring to take over Mageria and rule as king and queen. As Komura left the jungles to travel to Statoma and warn him of this, Hinter continued to turn his siblings against each other, traveling to his brother Ryoza in the plains and convincing him his siblings are planning a war for a single throne. Like a poison, these rumors spread, and eventually one by one an appetite for a one-king rulership was created. Each sage interested in professing themselves best suited as the one true king, and a sibling rivalry arose. "I've had enough of your foolish claims, judging by all of your leadership within your own nations now. None of you are fit above me." Quiogra rose, to his siblings sitting across from him at a round table meeting. Around the table, 5 of the great sages sit in an heated argument over leadership. A leader should be smart, a brute like you wouldn't know what to do with such control. Statoma shouts back at Quiogra, whose anger is generating electrical currents around his body. "Don't kid yourself, a clown like you is better fit as a jester, not a king." Quiogra shouts at Statoma, getting in his face. Statoma steps back and raises his hand to Quiogra. The ground at Quiogra's feet began rise and close in on Quiogra, at Statoma's command, continuing to rise up his body, encasing him in stone from the neck down. "Let me out of this at once, Statoma," Quiogra commanded. Statoma increasing the pressure with a simple movement of his hand. "Let him go, Statoma." Origena raises her voice at Statoma. "Not so funny now, is it, Quiogra?" Statoma taunts. Just as Quiogra begins to look like he couldn't handle the pressure any longer, in an instant he burst out from the stone casing with his bare arms, shattering it, and the dust and stone fly through the air away from him. His siblings left, guarding their faces. Statoma holds out both his arms. "This time I'll bury you." Statoma starts to attack. "Stop!" Komura cries, appearing instantly in front of Statoma, holding him by both wrists. Statoma snatches his arms away. Ryoza breaks his silence. "Neither one of you are fit to lead, brains or bronze. What are you saying, Ryoza? Kyogre questions. You both are as fools to me. The king should be the most gifted and talented, Ryoza claims. You arrogant brat, Ryoza. Conceit will get you nowhere. Kyogre dismisses him. Origena interjects. He has a point, Kyogre. The only point Ryoza makes is to flatter himself in the mirror. Kyogre becoming frustrated. No, Kyogre, what I'm saying is, for so long you have felt like you were superior to the rest of us with your high temper and tough exterior. And because I am a woman you don't even acknowledge me to be your equal, not as a queen or as your sister. Kyogre starts to comment. Every one of you think I couldn't rule Mageria as queen. I didn't even want to at first. I wanted to come to an agreement and support each other. But now because you all think I am the least possible suited, I will prove you all wrong and show you I will be the one true queen of Mageria. I, Origena, sage of the Jetstream tribe of the reptile wetlands, declare war on each of you. I will lead my kingdom to victory over all of you and we will colonize Mageria under me. Meanwhile, at the mountains of the bats, Kyuhinta is heard screaming from within in his chamber. Screams echoing throughout his temple, heard only by his guards who remain cloaked, hanging upside down like bats. All throughout the dimly torch-lit corridor, a single guard walks into Kyuhinta's chambers to check with him. My king, is there anything you would like for me to do? Kyuhinta, holding his head, asks. Do we have a problem? No, sir. Then what are you doing in here? Kyuhinta starts to shout. Leaving now, sir. The guard quickly removes himself out of the room. Kyuhinta hears a loud hissing, again holding his head. Kill him. Kyu hears a voice in his head. Sacrifice him to me. Kyuhinta responds, I'll get you a sacrifice. That vessel isn't going to hold. I don't want to waste another life for a failed summoning. Kyu hears the hissing again from his head. Can't you see power is at your fingertips? You should be out there trying to find me a body. I will grant you the power over Mageria you desire. I can't yet, it's too soon. My siblings are too powerful to take over the way things are now. I have to wait till they destroy each other. It's not time yet. You fool, with my power I can easily take down your brat siblings. Focus on summoning me. That's very unlikely. A guard walks in on Kyuhinta talking to himself. My king. What is it? Kyuhinta asks, annoyed. Holding up his arm with a bat hanging from it upside down, the guard reports. We have just received word the mainlands have declared war against each other. Kyuhinta holds out his arm and the bat flies over from the guard and latches onto Kyuhinta's arm. Good, mobilize every bat in the kingdom. I want surveillance all across Mageria. Yes sir. The guard starts to walk out. Not you. Kyuhinta stops the guard, then walks to a window, freeing the bat out. I have other plans for you. Kyuhinta raises his hand, calling up his power. And from shadows, swords form and begin floating and surround the guard, and he backs up, back into the room. With closing his hand into a fist, each sword simultaneously strikes through his body, ending his life in an instant. Mageria's capital, where all council meetings took place, is located in the Canine Valleys within a tower nearby Kyogre's temple. Each mainland prepared for war and to journey to the valleys, where the war zone was set for battle. Ryoza assembled the Firestorm and the Falcons of the Plains. Komura assembled the Nightshade and the Tigers of the Jungles. Statoma assembled the Sandome and the Ape of the Canyons. Origena assembled the Jetstream and the Alligators alongside the Serpents of the Wetland. Each army making way to meet at the Canine Valleys to face off to determine leadership over Mageria. Kyogre stands on the ledge on the roof of his temple, looking out into the night sky, taking out time to clear his mind. When he is joined by the commander-in-chief, King Kyogre, he hesitates to interrupt. Kyogre breaks from his trance. What is it, Saber? Saber continues, I have readied my troops and the wolves of the land. We are prepared for battle. We detect the other countries have mobilized and will arrive by dawn. Withdraw for now. With my siblings coming from every side, I can't afford to have any one of them surprise attack with our troops spread thin, securing the perimeters. Allow the other nations into the battlefield and then we strike. Kyogre declares. Yes, my king. Saber nods in agreement. Kyogre continues to look bothered. Saber walks close to him, asking discreetly, is everything alright? Kyogre sighs. Saber, as the commander-in-chief of the Quicksilver, I have high respect for you. You and your two brothers, Bones and Kono, are the finest Magerian warriors revered among all 6 tribes. Especially the power combo, with you and your twin Kono. I have no doubt with you 3 in the battlefield the tides will bend in our favor. But I am concerned about my fight, Saber. Saber interjects, my king, you are the most powerful of the sages. Surely you will bring the others to their knees. Kyogre explains, I thought the same way as well, but this war has gotten me to ponder about the final outcome. Something my sister Origena of the Jetstream was trying to get me to see, it not all about strength when met against talent. I've calculated the matches against my brothers many times, I can taste victory. But yet it is my sister's power of ice, water, and wood who may have the advantage against me. I've never realized it before, but her power may be my equal, even never been faced with such complexity in battle. Seems we both have a standoff. Saber agrees. What are you talking about? Kyogre asks. Draco, of the Firestorm tribe. He is said also to be a great Magerian warrior. But unlike me, he has no partner, meaning he has gained his notoriety battling alone. If the rumors are true, his abilities are surpassed that of my own. I'm not certain I can handle a standoff matched against someone like that. Kyogre gives off a hearty laugh. Saber looks at him confused. Draco Firestorm, I must admit he may be a worthy opponent for you. But Saber, you hold the answer to your own dilemma. You admit, unlike you, Draco has no partner, making that his greatest weakness when faced against Bones, or your twin brother Kono. Kyogre reassures, I guess Eve overlooked that aspect, Saber admits. Look Saber, this isn't a competition for the reputation of the best warrior. This is war we are dealing with. Personal rivalries between chiefs is no place for the battlefield. Personal quarrels may put the lives of your men in jeopardy. Saber adds, my king, Draco isn't a commander-in-chief. Well, I am disappointed that you are intimidated by a ground-level troop who hasn't even worked his way up in the ranks. Kyogre replies. Saber explains, no my king, Draco isn't an official part of the Firestorm army at all. He is more of a vigilante. King Ryoz's trump card is he. No worries, the Quicksilver brothers is our trump card. I believe, together the bond of you 3 will be able to deal with anything my siblings will throw at you. Saber nods in agreement. Just then, hanging under the ledge of the rooftop, an eavesdropping bat spreads its wings and takes off inconspicuously, out into the darkness of the night, undetected. Meanwhile, back at Kyuhinta's temple, in the mountains of the bats. I told you this would fail, Kyuhinta cries out, frustrated to the voice hissing in his head. Keep trying boy, surely one of these imbeciles has a vessel strong enough to hold. Kyuhinta backs away from an altar with a lifeless body laying atop of it. It seems to me I'm just killing senselessly. How do you think this looks to the rest of my gods? Kyuhinta asks, don't worry, once you are able to summon me here there will be no need of guards, they will be rendered useless. Just then Kyuhinta hears screeching from outside the window of his chambers. The screeching of bats communicating leading all the way back to Kyuhinta. The bats are talking. Well, what did they say? Kyuhinta starts to explain, looks like the war will commence by sunrise, and my brother is nervous about the battle. They also mentioned a few exceptional Magerian warriors who look like they may be quite a problem on the battlefield. That's it, the answer to our dilemma. Who are they? Kyohinta listens out the window to the bats relaying messages to each other. Someone by the name of Draco, and a trio of brothers of the Quicksilver. I want them, make them sacrifices to me and surely one of them will hold. You expect me to get in the middle of that war and retrieve a vessel? Are you mad? Let my siblings fight to the death and exhaust their armies and battle strength. I will be the only one left with an army and ready to claim this world when they are all finished. After the war I'll send for carcasses and we can try with those. Kyohinta declaring. You know we cannot do the ritual with a cold corpse. Your plans are obsolete. Let me in the driver's seat and I'll show you true power. I'm not jeopardizing the success of my agenda to gamble with your lofty ambitions. 5. Already killed dozens of my own men for you, to no avail. At this point I am to question if this ritual of yours is to even work. Kyohinta getting frustrated. The voice shouts back hissing, get to that battlefield and find me a body. Kyohinta starts holding his head. Alright. Stop it. I'll find these warriors, but I have to go alone to sneak quietly to avoid suspicion. Kyo takes off to the capital in the Canine Valley. Daybreak. The Canine Valleys are quiet at the first sign of sunlight. A calm sweeps over the battlefield that remains empty, covering miles of land. Quiet, silent, hidden in the bush surrounding the battlefield. The leering eyes of 100 tigers lay awaiting anyone to step foot into the arena. Hidden in trenches afar off, the Quicksilver taking cover with wolves' noses in the air. I can definitely smell them, they are out there, Connor whispers to Saber. All the Quicksilver and the wolves sniffing in deeply, getting anxious for battle. Suddenly a single giant eagle soars over the battlefield and lets out a loud screech. All eyes lock in on it as it starts flying in circles. This is it, Connor says to Saber. Should we strike? Another man asks. Saber signs his men to keep quiet. As the eagle circles in the air, a fleet of giant eagles, falcons, and birds come swarming in from all directions. Everyone braces themselves. All the birds look as a storm flying all around, kicking up dust into the air, chaotically screeching and making way to land. So many birds, a man is heard saying to his fellow soldier. As the dust settles, Ryoza is seen in the middle of hundreds of men and thousands of birds stands for battle in the arena. Everyone watching the battlefield becomes shocked and raises their guards. Ryoza intimidates all eyes looking towards his army. Camouflaged within the bush amongst the nightshade and tigers leaning against a tree, Komura lets down his cloak, becoming visible to his commander-in-chief. The tigers starting to let off low snarling, anxious to ambush the firestorm in the arena. Just wait, base, Komura instructs his commander. On my signal. Ryoza shouts from the battlefield, breaking all silence. Quiagra. All firestorm troops stand surrounding him, looking outward for any coming threat, raise their guards. In the trenches, Saber is looking for his moment to strike. Any visual on Draco Firestorm? Saber asks Bones. It would help if I knew his scent, Bones pointing out the obvious. The wolves began high-pitched whining. You feel that? Connor staring at the ground. The Quicksilver all start to look confused. What is that? And the ground begins to rumble. The firestorm in the field begin to look at the ground and the birds begin to start flying. Ryoza is stuck starting at the ground below him. Oh shit. Ryoza could barely say before pillars of stone quickly start bursting out from underground, striking the firestorm. Troops start trying to jump away from the stone pillars while others jump atop the stones from pillar to avoid injury. Several troops get hit and crushed by the stones and Ryoza takes to the sky, blasting fire from each hand to ascended. Then out of the ground Statoma emerges quickly, pursuing Ryoza into the sky. The ground behind him collapses into a giant hole and hundreds of sand dune troops and apes come pouring out, commencing attack on the firestorm. The guerrillas effortlessly grab firestorm troops and start slamming them against the new stone terrain. Kindle, the commander-in-chief of the firestorm, starts using his agility and jump from pillar to get airborne. Everyone follow my lead. The firestorm follow Kindle's example and use the pillars to their advantage to get overhead of the sand dome and apes and come down, striking hard. Much more nimble and agile, the firestorms start jumping around to remain overhead. The sand dome brute forceful blows, taking down any firestorm who got hit. Keep your distance, then strike the blind spot. Kindle commands his troops running up the side of pillars. Turk, the commander-in-chief of the sand dome, gets visual of Kindle, watching him command his men. Turk, who is awaiting at a tunnel within the giant ditch, points directly at Kindle. Behind him in the tunnel, hundreds of baboons await his command. Get him, Turk commands, and the hundreds of baboons race, pouring out of the tunnel, stampeding through anything getting in their way, climbing up the pillars to reach Kindle. Kindle looks around to see the baboons are after him, and he begins to continue to run up the pillar and jump from one to the next to evade, but the persistent baboons were much more nimble and agile than the gorillas, and Kindle could not maintain a gap between him and the baboons. So while running, he fought off any that grabbed him, knocking them back to the ground before they could swim him. As the numbers continued to increase, Kindle let out a loud bird call, and from nowhere the eagles and falcons came to aid Kindle, attacking the baboons climbing up the pillars, allowing Kindle to break away from the baboons. Turk, who is watching the falcons attack the baboons from below, finally joins in the war, rushing in and tackling a nearby firestorm troop into a stone pillar. Turk's presence on the battlefield calls the attention of the apes and the sand dome and boosts morale. The evasive firestorm, who are swift at dodging and keeping distance, begin to back away from the newly strengthened sand dome. Turk begins grabbing stones and throwing them at the firestorm, and all the apes followed suit, increasing the gap between them and the firestorm, backing away from the boulders. The sand dome then becomes center staged in the arena with the firestorm surrounding them. The firestorm began running, circling the surrounded sand dome, leaving them confused. One by one, a firestorm troop moves in and strikes a sand dome troop in their blind spot and quickly return to circling around the sand dome, weakening their forces. Some troops swing, attempting to land, hit to no avail. Turk, at the center, redirects his focus to Kindle, standing atop a pillar. Baboon are seen falling off from pillars and by birds flying around, striking at them. Turk let out loud monkey sounds and get the baboons' attention. And suddenly the baboons start jumping on top of birds, taking them down, slamming them to the ground. Ryoza is seen flying high, fire bursting from each hand like rockets. Statoma on his tail, air surfing on a stone slab and surrounded with sand and boulders, chasing after. Ryoza stops and faces Statoma, both airborne high in the sky. At his command, Statoma shoots stones at Ryoza, catching him off guard. Ryoza tries to speak, and again Statoma directs the boulders, shooting at Ryoza, leaving him bruised. Ryoza then starts to get angry and heat up. Quickly the temperature shifts and it gets hot. Statoma, sweating, sends sand to encase Ryoza as he's heating up. Ryoza, becoming red as the sand starts raising up from his feet, tries to move his feet. Ryoza shoots a blast of fire from his hand at Statoma, who splits in two, moving opposite directions, creating a duplicate of himself, dodging the blast. Running up his waist, the sand is halfway covering his body and the temperature stops rising. With quick hand gestures at Statoma's command, the weight of the sand starts to weigh Ryoza down. Ryoza faces both plums downward and blast full power to remain airborne. Statoma grins, looking at Ryoza's dilemma, watching him try to remain airborne, both hands full, blasting fire to stay up while encased with sand from the waist down. Once Statoma makes a hand gesture to increase the pressure of the sand, while the other commands the floating boulders with him to shoot at Ryoza's face. After 3 boulders strike Ryoza, he begins spitting out blood. Ryoza then takes a huge breath in through his nose, then blows black smoke out from his mouth. The Statoma covers their faces, backing away. Ryoza creates a huge smoke fog, leaving the Statomas blind. Ryoza stops shooting fire from his hands and allows the weight on the sand pull him swiftly down towards the ground. Statoma left, trying to fly out of the smoke. Ryoza get clear of the fog, falling down to the ground, then with a snap of his finger, snap. The entire fog explodes with Statoma in it. The sand gripped around Ryoza's legs starts to soften and fall from form. Ryoza reignites his hands and carries himself before he can hit the ground, and sees Statoma's lifeless body falling out from the smoke, heading straight to the ground. The explosion interrupts the entire battlefield. The Nightshade hiding in the bush, and the Quicksilver hiding in the trenches, all startle, as they all witness a body fall down from the sky and hit the ground hard. Kindle immediately responds to investigate, jumping over with use of the pillars, finding Statoma's body covered in bruised blood and ash. Ryoza is seen descending down from the sky, and the firestorm start to cheer. The Sandome tribe disengage from fighting, and Turk runs over to the body. Kindle raises his hands to his troops and they start to scream with joy. Peeking from the trenches, the Quicksilver watching the arena. Bones asks Saber, maybe we should strike now while everyone's guard is down. Saber doesn't bat an eye nor break his silence. He continues to watch the field. Bones shrugs aloof, saying, you would think you were the oldest. If we didn't know any better, turning his back to wait for commands. Saber intensely watches the battlefield. From the rooftop of Kyogre's temple, Kyogre stands able to catch the explosion from the battlefield. Talking to himself, looks like that's my brother Ryoza, combustible ash. This doesn't look good. By the size of that explosion, it was meant to take out someone powerful. I guess it's time I get over there to protect my men before they are vanquished. It looks like Ryoza isn't holding back. He'll call a rainstorm over to the battlefield from here to dampen and further attacks Ryoza may use. I just hope the advantage this rain gives my sister Origena is worth the trade of weakening Ryoza in my favor. Kyogre's eyes begin to glow as he summons rain clouds in the sky. Leering from the bush, Komura stands aside base, watching the commotion in the arena. Base asks, should we move in now while their defenses are down? Komura replying, Komi, relax, just wait and watch. In the arena, Turk stands over Statoma and starts to anger. He turns to Kindle and punches him down. Kindle looks confused. Your king is down, why do you still fight? Asking Turk. Turk cries out, because I am a Sandome. He kicks Kindle upwards and strikes him down hard with double fists swinging down from overhead. Too strong to block every one of Turk's attacks broke Kindle's guards. Turk swinging with bone-breaking blows. The Sandome begin to cheer. Ryoza runs over to Kindle getting beat down and strikes Turk away towards Statoma's body. Ryoza walks over to Turk, who is spitting blood from his attack. You are no match for a sage, Ryoza says calmly, igniting a ball of fire in his hands. Just as Ryoza goes in and blasts fire at Turk, Statoma steps up and a stone pillar comes out from the ground blocking the fire. Watching from the bush base, talking to Komura whose eyes are closed. Statoma's back up, I told you. Just watch. Komura answers. My brother Statoma has the ability to regenerate himself, it's only a matter of time till he heals up. Base looks confused, how do you beat something like that? In the battlefield, Ryoza stops blasting fire. Well, look who's awake. Had a nice nap? Ryoza says, grinning. Statoma stands to his feet looking weakened. Turk looks at Statoma from behind him as if he saw a ghost. Statoma struggling to speak. Ryoza interrupts. There, save your strength. Did you forget my smog was toxic? Statoma starts to look surprised and in pain, falling back to his knees. I bet that healing ability of yours isn't working like it should. Hope you didn't breathe in too much. At that moment, a bright lightning lights up the sky and all eyes look up at the now dark cloud-filled sky. Loud thunder starts booming loudly and wind starts to pick up. Ryoza starts to look around, anticipating Kyogre to attack him. Statoma falls to the ground grinning, letting out a faint chuckle. Hair, saved by Kyogre. Statoma says, merging with the ground, sinking within it. Rain starts to fall and starts becoming heavier, followed by gust of wind. Ryoza shouts over to Kindle, regroup. Turk gets up and regroups his troops as well. In the trenches, Kono is upset, complaining to Saber, a storm. What, is he crazy? He just muted out all our senses, why not forfeit the war while we're at it? Saber responds calm, he must be getting worried. Kono responding, well, if we didn't have anything to worry about before, we definitely have something to worry about now. Kono takes a deep sniff in the rain. I can't smell anything. I barely even smell the blood anymore. A loud thunder sound claps and the rain picks up even stronger, startling Kono. Don't worry, Kono, we should be fine. Kyogre knows what he's doing. I'm sure these weather conditions are an inconvenience everyone else as well. Hidden away from the arena over hills, Origena and the Jetstream tribe, hundreds of troops, Serpent, and Gators get caught in the rain, awaiting for Origena's command. Talking to herself, I knew Kyogre wouldn't resist showing off his weather show as expected. She turns to her army, crying out, everyone, it's time, we're moving in. Origena. Making way into the arena, Origena walks calmly, leading her army to the center, unfazed by the rainstorm. Ryoza, Kindle and the Firestorm army are all huddled together on guard, watching as Origena approaches from the bush base, watching the battlefield with Komura. So that's your sister, the Queen Origena. She is beautiful, Base says to Komura, as he pretends not to listen. In the trenches, the wolves start to whimper, high-pitched in anticipation, sensing the time to strike was approached, with the new challenger entering the arena. Origena walks, surrounded by many crocodiles and snakes slithering around her army, approaching Ryoza head-on. Ryoza staring at his sister as she approaches him, she stops several feet in front on him with her army behind her. As with Ryoza and his army behind him, Turk and the Sandome continue to back away as they know not to interfere without their king Statoma to defend them. Origena stares at her brother Ryoza and he leers right back at her. As the rain continues to pour on everyone, breaking her silence, it would be wise for you to surrender now, Ryoza. I don't want to have to kill you, but I will. Ryoza takes a hard swallow and chuckles, you are so cocky, sister, that can be your biggest downfall. She responds, what can you do? This rainstorm has dampened all of your abilities, Ryoza, and has boosted my power exponentially. Even without this rain you wouldn't stand a match to me. Listening from the trenches, the Quicksilver watch, whoa, is that true? Kono asking Saber, is she really that powerful? After seeing King Ryoza blast King Statoma out of the sky, I thought Ryoza was the biggest threat. Saber answers, King Kyogre mentioned Origena is a formidable adversary, everyone stand ready, we may be moving in soon, Saber commands, and all his troops start stretching, yawning and waking up. Bones asks Saber quietly, you told me you didn't want to move in until you had eyes on Draco. At Saber looking at his brother Bones to respond, spaces out and remembers Kyogre's words. Kyogre's voice, look Saber, this isn't a competition for the reputation of the best warrior. This is war we are dealing with. Personal rivalries between chiefs is no place for the battlefield. Personal quarrels may put the lives of your men in jeopardy. Saber answers Bones, we move in on my signal. In the arena, Ryoza talking to Origena, you know I can't back down, sister. Origena responds, well, I'm sorry I have to do this. Origena raises one arm towards the sky. At her command the dark rain clouds start to condense. Everyone looks up at the sky in awe as the clouds start to become water and a giant water dome hovers overhead and the rain stops. Ryoza, looking up at the water dome, asks, what are you going to do with that? Drown me? Origena answers, I hope you can swim. Origena quickly lowers the water dome to the battleground, trapping herself and everyone around her inside. The alligators and snakes start to swim around the orb and Origena swims to the center to control the movement of the water prison. Origena starts to raise the water back up into the sky to hover overhead again. Leaving the jet stream troops on the ground, the entire firestorm army become trapped inside the water dome. Filled with snakes and crocodiles, they start swimming around chasing troops who can hardly evade them by trying to swim and getting nowhere. Crocs start chomping down on men, killing and eating them. The snakes start biting and poisoning some while others wrap around them to drown. Kindle is seen attempting to fight them off, and Ryoza is drifting in the water looking around, immobilized by the sight of his men being devoured. Thinking, what can I do? My men, I must save them. My powers are completely useless here. I'm running out of air, damn it. Soaring, hovering, riding a wind current, Kyogre is racing to the battlefield a few miles away. Damn it, the rainstorm stopped. This must mean Origena has taken over the water. As Kyogre starts to get closer, he starts to see the giant water globe in the distance. Yes, that's Origena, alright, I must pick up the pace. In the trenches, the Quicksilver watch the carnage within the water dome and grow in fear of Origena. Kono complaining to Saber, that's it, I quit, I'm not going out there to fight against that. Saber looks at Kono blankly. He continues, do you see that? No way we can deal with that, I'm going home. Kono, as long as we still have a king we can still fight. Saber interrupts his rant, king. Do you see that thing? Look at Ryoza, he's a king, a dead king. Saber looks over towards Ryoza in the dome. I've never seen King Kyogre do anything like that. Face it, Saber, Origena is too powerful. In the bush, Komura watches Origena dominate the battlefield. Base watching carefully, she's going to kill him, King Ryoza. I can tell he's running out of air in that thing. Should we do something? Komura stares at his sister looking concerned as if he is about to make a move. The Jetstream troops left under the dome watch and rejoice as the Gators slaughter the Firestorm army. High in the sky, 3 giant eagles soar in triangle formation, followed by a few falcon, a Magarian warrior riding on the back of the head eagle. Get me up higher, guys, he says, and the eagles soar higher upward till they start leaving the atmosphere. Hold on, Ryoza, I'm coming just a little more distance. The eagles start stopping as if they could not fly any higher. Okay, that good here. He looks around and sees stars all around him. Then he looks down to land and everything is as tiny as ants in his sight. He peers down and locks onto the water prison as his target. Sword in hand, he dives off of the bird straight down, racing towards the ground. The bird's not too far behind, diving with him. He starts gaining rapid speed like a comet. He comes crashing down into the water orb from above, striking down hard with his sword on Origena at the center. Origena gets knocked away and loses control of the water dome, and it starts to fall from form critically. Hurt, Origena motions her hand to command the water to change form, and instantly into vapor. In seconds, the once water dome changed from a body of water to a thick fog covering the arena like a smoke screen. The firestorm left alive, all left coughing and gasping for air. Origena hiding in the fog to prevent further attack while vulnerable creates a cap of ice on her open wound on her ribs. Ryoza starts to get up and find the Magarian who crashed into the water prison beside him, performing CPR on Kindle. Draco, what took you? Ryoza struggling to ask. You're welcome, Draco replies as Kindle coughs water up and starts gasping to breath. Ryoza asks, what's going on? Where are we? Back on the ground? The battle's not over yet. After I hit Origena pretty hard, she created this fog. Keep your eyes peeled. I think she just used this as a scapegoat. I sense she is vulnerable, tending to her injury. Hiding in this fog riddled with crocs and snakes. Draco explained, well, at least we are on solid ground now. Kindle responds, starting to wake up. The 3 look around and can't see anything through the fog farther and anything directly in front of them. In the bush. Komura talking to Base, this is it. Let's move. Komura changed form and shape shifts into a serpent and slithers into the fog. Base turns and signs his men and they begin the make way, creeping into the fog quietly alongside their tigers. The jet stream stands center of the arena together, the fog being too thick to see. They hold their guards up awaiting Origena's next move, leaving the creeping in the fog to the crocs and serpents. Glacier, the commander-in-chief of the Jetstream, standing among them holding their position. Like ninja, the Nightshade moved through the fog without a sound, with eyes trained to see through the dark of night. The fog seemed not to bother the Visor on the Nightshade, able to make out movement and figures from afar. The Nightshade hold the advantage under the cover of the fog, killing crocs and snakes throughout the arena with single strikes. With the Jetstream none the wiser, their animals' natives were being wiped out. Ryoza, Draco and Kindle regroup with the surviving firestorm, and their numbers are down to the dozen. Until this fog clears, I think we should stay put and cover each other, Kindle saying to Ryoza, who is checking if Draco will object. Draco drops to the ground and lays looking upward to the sky, then closes his eyes. The tigers roaming around the arena didn't bother to walk into the camps made up in the fog, but only to kill wandering crocs lurking for other Magarian prey. Soon the Nightshade cleared the arena, sneaking and slaying enemies walking carelessly in the fog. The Sandome remain on the perimeters, camped in the fog. The Jetstream took center with the largest numbers camped in the middle of the fog, and the firestorm only a several dozen strong camped a few hundred yards away from the center and the Jetstream. The Nightshade patrolled the entire field without any other tribe detecting. They have even made way into the battlefield and finally killing off all crocs and serpents. Origena, left by herself, laying in pain, resting up for strength, is approached by a serpent. Origena, being off guard, thinks nothing of the approaching snake as she assumes it's a native of hers. Once close enough, the snake changes form and shifts into Komura. Origena, shocked and frightened, tries crawling away from her brother Komura, only for him to teleport right beside her. Glad you can make it, sister, Komura taunts. For a minute there I thought you were going to kill Ryoza. Was that your plan? Komura asking. I had no choice, Komura. I thought we agreed there would be no casualties among us. Komura adding that all changed with this war. Origena replies. Komura shifts his hand into a blade at the wrist. So I guess I should kill you now then. Komura looking to strike. Origena turned the ground under him into ice. As he starts to step closer, he slips and falls, and Origena turns the entire fog back to water and drops is to the ground, water rushing Komura away and revealing the tribes in the arena, starting to stand with the rushing water start to settle. The Jetstream, Sandome and the Firestorm, shocked to see the Nightshade and tigers surrounding them with reptile carcasses all over. Origena quickly raises wood and vine from underground to wrap Komura up and freezes him in a block of ice, also freezing the ground of the entire arena to ice. With the Jetstream Glacier commander her troops, that's okay, the troops start sliding on the ice like they are skating and commence attack on the Nightshade, who are having trouble with the new ice terrain. Origena stares at the block of ice at Komura inside, wrapped in vine. Like a ghost, Komura starts to move through the vines and out of the ice, Origena backing away and sliding off, scoring on the ice field. Komura teleports in front of her and grows into a giant, then kicks her backwards. The Nightshade, slipping and sliding all over the ice, loses the advantage of the field to the graceful Jetstream, who are skating around attacking the Nightshade. The tigers remain immobilized, unable to move on the ice at all. Ryoza and the remaining Firestorm gets visual of Komura when he triples in size to fight Origena. Kindle saying to Ryoza, we can't move around with all this ice. Ryoza snapping back into action. Alright, he ignites both hands, shoots into the air like a rocket. While airborne, Ryoza increases his temperature and it begins to get hot. So much that the ice on the ground begins to melt. Soon as Draco gets his footing, he takes off into battle with his sword, effortlessly striking down every Jetstream and Nightshade troop in sight. Kindle and the remaining Firestorm rush in to back Draco up, who looks as though he can take on the armies himself. Glacier gets a visual on Draco taking out her troops and starts to make her way over to the action when she is blindsided, strike down. Looking up at her opponent, Base looks down at her. It is me you will be fighting, Base saying nonchalantly and raising his guard. From all sides Nightshade and Jetstream troops strike, swarming at Draco, surrounding him. Quick and swift swings of his blade, no one can get close to him without him drawing blood. With a combination of hand-to-hand combat and the usage of his sword, Draco takes out dozens of enemy troops, while Kindle and the Firestorm watch. Just then howling wolves are heard, getting the attention of the battlefield, and a wolf pack is spotted racing to the center, to Draco, Saber, Bones, and Connor riding on the backs of their own wolf. The Quicksilver rush in attacking, and anyone who attacks them follows Saber into the circle surrounding Draco, and the troops widen the space as Saber climbs off his wolf, locking eyes with Draco. "This doesn't look good," Kindle saying to his men. "That's Saber and the Quicksilver brothers." Origena is left trying to land an attack on Kimura, who keeps phasing through anything she throws at him. Ryoza flies over and shoots a fire blast at Origena. Kimura, who is giant, smacks Ryoza out of the sky like a net, then tries to step on him. Ryoza shoots fire, burning his feet, and Kimura reduces to normal size. Draco is staring at Saber while the surrounding Sodders watch, in amazement to see Saber and Draco. Saber starts growling like a feral animal. Draco says to Saber, "You look strong, what is your name?" Saber runs up quickly and strikes at Draco, barely dodging. Bones and Connor jump off from their wolves and start circling Draco. 3-on-1 is hardly fair, Draco taunts, laughing. The brothers start running around Draco on all fours, swarming towards Draco, confused at who will strike. Draco starts swinging his sword around. In an instant Saber sees his opening to strike and pounces Draco down, and his brothers jump in on him as well, swinging his legs around to build momentum. Draco swings himself upward into the air and landing back on his feet. Saber moves into fight direct. Draco, hardly maneuvering to evade, begins deflecting his strikes, looking to counter. Saber's brother Bones and Connor circle around them, intimidating and distracting Draco. Saber begins to overpower him, and Draco lets out a loud bird call. Kindle and the Firestorm react to the call and rush in to help, only to be met with Quicksilver troops jumping in to attack, blocking them from getting close to Draco. Several birds fly overhead, and the giant eagles fly in triangle formation, quickly swooping down to Draco, and without landing, Draco jumps onto an eagle and takes off into the sky, leaving Connor, Bones and Saber looking up at the sky, watching the birds take Draco away. Connor looks over to Saber, who is still staring in the distance. "Guess that's the end of that." Saber closes his eyes and takes several sniffs, then bursts out, dashing towards Draco's trail. "Whoa!" Connor and Bones look surprised as Saber dashes past them. The wolf Saber was riding takes off, passing Bones and Connor as well, quickly catching up to Saber, running sister by side without stopping. Saber jumps onto the wolf and takes off even faster in the distance. "Should we go after them?" Connor asks Bones. The fighting in the arena continues on. The tigers of the Nightshade start to target rivalry with the wolves of the Quicksilver. The Quicksilver quickly start to dominate the Nightshade and the Jetstream. Bones and Connor start to run after Saber, when Kindle jumps in the way, kicking Bones down to the ground. Connor stops to turn and help his brother. "Don't worry Connor, I'll catch up, just hurry to back Saber up." Connor nods and dashes off on all fours, following Saber's scent. Origena and Ryoza try working together to land an attack on Kimura, who keep teleporting and striking them out of nowhere. Disappearing again, Kimura taunts, "You know you two will never be able to land a single scratch on me." Ryoza answers, "How about you take down your cloak and say that to my face, Kimura?" Kimura laughs, seeming to be coming from all directions, leaving Origena and Ryoza puzzled, watching their surroundings. "If it wasn't for Kimura being so difficult to deal with, I would have struck you down by now." Ryoza, standing back to him. "I'm not excited about working with you either, sister." Kimura suddenly appears in Origena's face and she lets out a shriek. Ryoza turns quickly, blowing out black ask, hoping to catch Komura in it. Only to see Origena has vanished as well. Komura starts coughing loudly, sounding as if it coming from every direction. Ryoza looks around, still unable to find Komura, hearing coughing that turn into laughing. Ha missed me. Komura taunts Ryoza, who is starting to get pissed off, now by himself, to fight Komura alone. Enough of this silly game, Komura. Stop hiding and fight head on. Ryoza shouting to the wind. Komura answers back, you and I both know I have no abilities fit to fight against you. That's why you aren't fit to be king. You should surrender. Ryoza throws his voice back out. Taking the form of a boa constrictor, Komura wrapped Ryoza's feet tightly and wraps all the way Ryoza's body, meeting him at his face, and hisses his tongue out, licking Ryoza's cheek. Ryoza starts to heat up his body, and like a ghost Komura phases through Ryoza's body, still in snake from Komura, grows in size and becomes a giant snake the size of a tower. Ryoza shoot fireballs at him that go right through Komura, and he lets out a loud hiss. Ryoza shouts, Komura, you're so annoying. The giant snake teleports and vanishes. Glacier, the commander-in-chief of the jet stream, is trying to get a hold of Base, who is quick and swift on his feet. Like a ninja, Base pounces and dives in evasion from Glacier's swinging grapples. Glacier is centered and stable, arms open, trying to grab hold of Base, who he's swiping quickly at Glacier, too fast for her reflexes. Glacier changes fighting stance and raises one arm up straight up over her head and points her fingers horizontal. Now standing on one foot, Base looks up at her hand and studies her stance before dashing back in for another strike, and as Base dives in to strike, Glacier bends her body, dodging the attack, then twists her body around, and with her arm overhead swings down quickly like a pendulum and knocks Base away hard. Then repositions into her stance again. Kindle, commander-in-chief of the firestorm, cannot find an opening to attack Bones, left holding a clash. Kindle tries to back away from Bones and circle him to strike quickly at a blind spot. Bones' reflexes are so swift, every strike Kindle attacks with ends in holding a clash face to face with Bones. Kindle begins to speak, you are strong, and you aren't a commander. Bones responds, if there were 3 chairs I'd be sitting in one. The sky begins to darken with clouds, and flashes of lightning are seen in the sky. Kyogre's Sage of Storm hovers in the wind over the battlefield. Watching the armies fight, Kyogre begins striking lightning into the arena and Magarians begin to disperse. Just then Kyogre is smacked down from the sky and tower-sized Komura becomes visible. Kyogre responds, shooting electricity at Komura, who vanishes before contact. Saber follows Draco's scent miles away from the battlefield, running into a small woods area. The wolf Saber rode in on starts to slow down and Saber climbs off his back. Saber closes his eye, taking in deep sniffs, and a sudden nearby sound hit his ear. Saber quickly froze and silenced, his wolf on high alert freezes as well. Saber listens in closely for another sound and hears nothing. Saber starts to lower his guard when out from behind trees footsteps start to approach him. The wolf starts to whine high pitch and Saber readies in battle stance. The figure walking towards him steps into where he can be seen. Hello, Saber. Saber looks terrified, taking in deep sniffs. He hesitates. You're a sage. Very good, he answers, taking in deep sniffs. Saber starts to recognize the smell of bat. You must be King Q-Hinter. Q-Hinter answers, in the flesh. It's Saber, having trouble speaking, asks, why aren't you back at the battlefield? Saber starts to back away and his wolf continues to whistle. Q answers, well, why aren't you? Saber turning away, I think I'll head back now to fight for my tribe. Floating swords hover around Saber and he turned to see them. Realizing Q-Hinter won't allow him to leave, Saber stands his ground and prepares for battle. At his command the swords close in on Saber, who jumps out the way and starts running toward Q. Q-Hinter doesn't move or flinch. As Saber comes in for an attack, He steps foot into a shadow and it instantly drills up as a spike, taking Saber to the ground injured. The wolf starts to growl and rush in to attack Q-Hinter, and as fast as magnets attract each other, is as fast the shadow swords all strike the wolf, killing him quickly. Q-Hinter slowly walks over Saber's body and without a word sends a sword right through him, killing him. Without hesitation, Q starts to draw a circle in the dirt, drawing in symbols with Saber's blood. Q then holds Saber by the head and starts saying incantations. The markings and symbols laid on the ground begin to glow. Q-Hinter's eyes begin to glow the same, and out from his eyes a ghostly figure jumps into Saber's head. Nearby, sniffing around on all fours, Connor wanders over to see the wolf's body dead. In shock, he looks around and looks over to see Q-Hinter standing over Saber's dead body. Connor quickly takes cover, ready to cry, seeing his dead brother. Q-Hinter finishes the incantations and back away from the body in a moment of silence. Q-Hinter sighs. Just as he begins to speak, the circle drawn around the body begins to glow brightly. A portal starts to open up and a shadow comes pouring into the carcass until the eyes open and takes the first breath of air. He begins to get up, starts levitating. What looks like smoke starts pouring up into the sky from him, casting darkness overhead. Saber's body starts to change. Dragon heads grow out from the base of his spine, 9 in number. Q-Hinter backs away, hesitant, asking, "Who are you?" "I'm Conrad, you can call me Chase. I am the darkness that corrupts good and creates evil. I am the darkness that combats the light, and I am the darkness that swallows all things. You have served me well, Q-Hinter." Chase blasts Q-Hinter with black smoke and he begins coughing. His body starts to change, his eye becoming red, his hand growing in size and body becoming ghostly and becoming pitch black and finally appearing like a demon. Q-Hinter examines his body. "What have you done to me?" Q-Hinter asking. Chase laughs. "Made good on my promise. Now you will have power unlike no sage has ever seen. Come, let us do away with your family." Chase starts flying away. "Wait." Q-Hinter start flying as well, surprised, and continues to follow Chase. Connor, tearing up, watches Chase and Q-Hinter off with Saber's body. "Oh no, Bones. I have to get back and get him out of there." Connor gets up and running. "Tired yet?" Komura asks Ryozo, who's exhausted, lying on the ground catching his breath. "Where are you, Komura?" Ryozo shouts out to no answer. Origena is left out of breath, exhausted, off on her own. "Tired yet?" Komura asks Origena while invisible. Working up strength to speak, Origena answers, "Stop hiding and fight me, Komura." She looks around to no answer. In the battlefield, Kyogre looks around for Komura, panting for breath. Komura appears in front of Kyogre and Kyogre reacts with an electric bolt shooting at Komura that goes right through him like a ghost. Komura walks up to Kyogre and asks, "Tired yet?" Kyogre lowers his head, panting towards the ground. "Damn it," he shouts out. Komura continues teleporting between his battles with Kyogre, Origena, and Ryozo, who each all think he is fighting them with his undivided attention. The three are in different areas of the war zone. Komura continues to tire them out, taunting them to attack to no success. Suddenly, darkness starts to fill the sky like an eclipse. The attention of the entire battlefield turns to the sky as Q-Hinter and Chase fly over the battlefield, descending before all the Magarians. Kyogre rushes over to see who has arrived and staring face to face with Chase. Kyogre speaks, "Saber, is that you? What has happened to you?" Chase laughs, "Don't insult me. Saber is dead. I am Conrad." Kyogre starts to anger, "What have you done to Saber?" Bones pushes through the crowd to stand beside Kyogre. Bone cries out, "Brother, Saber." Chase starts to get annoyed. "I told you he is dead, don't call me that." Bones looks like he was struck in the heart, falling to his knees, dead. Kyogre looks down beside him to see Bones at his knees. Bones lets out a loud wolf howl and Chase looks further annoyed. Quicksilver all around the arena joined the howl and all the wolves howled with them loudly. Afar off, Connor running back to the field can hear his tribes howling and he starts to run faster. "Shut up," Chase demands. In that instant Kimura appears beside Kyogre facing Chase and Q-Hinter. "Who are these two?" Kimura asks, butting in. Q-Hinter breaks his silence. "Don't you recognize your own brother?" Kyogre gasps. "Q-Hinter, is that you? What has he done to you? You look like..." Q-Hinter interrupts. "Look like what?" Kimura adds in, "Some kind of shadow demon." Chase reveals the dragon heads grown from the base of his spine. Everyone raises guard. Kyogre asks Q-Hinter, "I take it you are joining the battle for Mageria?" Q-Hinter begins to laugh. "You fool brother, I am not interested in this war at all. I've come to destroy you all." Chase, smiling, starts flying back into the sky. As Rayquaza and Origena run over joining their siblings, looking at Q-Hinter, Chase shouts out, "Show em what you can do, Q." Q-Hinter raises his hand and up from the ground the shadows start to form into shadow creatures mimicking the form of Magerian people. And they start attack everyone on the battlefield. Q-Hinter. Each Magerian troop on the battlefield starts fighting against Q-Hinter's shadow minions. With their hands tied up, fighting could not retreat. Kyogre, Origena, Rayquaza, and Kimura look around to see their armies being attacked, noticing they themselves weren't targeted. Looking up at Q-Hinter, the four sages become intimidated by him. Kimura looks to his siblings beside him. "With that kind of power, how will any one of us stop him?" Origena looks over to her tribe and starts to worry. "We have to defend our tribes. They face an impossible enemy." Origena starts to run to aid the jet stream. Just as she turns her back, a shadow ball swiftly strikes her down from above. Origena's brothers watch as she starts to stand up and face Q-Hinter, who is hovering above. Origena lifts her hand to Q-Hinter, and at her command water begins shooting out like a geyser at Q-Hinter. Lifting his left palm, Q-Hinter opens a portal and sucks the water into it. He then opens his right palm and releases the water blast back at Origena. To surprise to think, Origena reacts startled and shoots a beam of ice at the returning water blast, freezing it to ice before it can reach her, and it falls to the ground solid ice. The four sages stand stunned and confused, looking toward Q-Hinter in fear. "How did he do that?" Rayquaza asking his siblings. "I've never knew he could do that." Q-Hinter begins laughing. "You should see the look on your faces. Each one of you in fear of me, even you, Kyogre." Kyogre responds, "How did you do that, Q? You've never displayed the ability to negate and manipulate any element other than shadows." Q-Hinter continues chuckling. "With this power boost, not only are my abilities enhanced, but more potential has been unlocked. I hardly manipulated anything, I merely reversed it. Everything cast a shadow. Care to see yours?" The four sages begin to sink deeper into fear with every word Q-Hinter says. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, there's only 4 of you here. Where is Totoma? Q-Hinter asked. The sages kept silent rather than answering Q-Hinter. "Foolish are you all, my siblings. You let your thirst for power bring you to finish off your brother." Q starts laughing again. "And you all thought you were that much better than me? Did you even have time to mourn?" Rayquaza, Origena, and Kyogre lower their heads in shame while Kimura looks, staring at them. "It's a shame you all will have to suffer the same fate." Kimura interrupts. "What is this, Q-Hinter? What is this for?" Q answers, "With each of you out of my way, I will rule Mageria on my own forever." Kimura responds, "You will slay us to get what you already have. You are already king of the mountains. Why do you desire us gone?" Q answers, "Every council meeting you all ignored me, you never trusted me, and you never liked me. Now you want to negotiate when I have you at my mercy." Origena cuts in, "That's not true, Q. You are our brother. We love you." Q-Hinter tsk, "Oh, Origena, so naive, sister. Speak for yourself. I have the telepathy, I know the truth. Origena looks to her brothers Kyogre, Ryoza, and Komura, asking, what is he talking about? Kyogre, finally lifting up his head, answers, yes, Origena, this is true. I never trusted Kyuhinta. Origena looks to Ryoza and Komura, asking, is this true? The two remain quiet and do not answer. Kyuhinta continues, why do you think I am in the caves on the mountain top, in the mountains, a banishment unspoken? Origena demands an answer from Kyogre, why didn't you ever trust Kyu? Kyogre answers, because of his power, he is not to be trusted. Kyu interjects, you aren't innocent, Origena, you two ignored me every time, favoring Kyogre. It's always been Kyogre, and you all made his ego big, then when it came time for you to finally want something for yourselves, you see the monster you all created, and how arrogant your self-appointed leader is. Sitting at the top, in the valleys in the capital. We were all supposed to rule Mageria as an oligarchy, but it's always been a patriarch with Kyogre at the head. That's why I'll kill him first. Komura, Origena, and Ryoza all stare looking at Kyogre, lost for words. Kyogre asks, if you felt this was Kyu, why didn't you say anything? Kyu begins charging a shadow ball, answers him through talking, you didn't want to listen to me then. Now it's too late. Kyu shoots the shadow ball at Kyogre, who dodges it. Kyogre responds, shooting electricity at Kyu. Kyu opens a portal with his left palm, and sucks in the electricity, and shoots it out another with his right, striking Kyogre directly. Kyogre stands almost paralyzed by the blast. Ryoza ignites both palms and shoots up into the air and faces Kyu, taking in a deep in through his nose. Ryoza then backs away, blowing out black ash, leaving Kyu inside the smoke. Ryoza snaps his fingers and the smoke explodes. Watching from the ground, Origena smiles. Got him. The debris from the explosion begins to fade and a black orb is left hovering. Ryoza looks confused and watches the orb and it start to crack open, and Kyuhinta comes out without a scratch. Every sage watching him becomes worried. Kyogre calls over to Origena, sister, you and Komura try and get as many Magerians out of here. It'll help Ryoza distract Kyuhinta so he can pursue you. Kyogre's eyes begins to glow as he begins summoning up rain clouds. Origena looks up to the clouds and grows confident. Komura appears and grabs Origena, then vanishes with her. Kyuhinta starts shooting red beams from his eyes, almost hitting Ryoza when a tornado gust blows Kyu away off balance. Kyogre rides a wind current and glides up beside Ryoza. Every time I shoot fire at him, he just throws it right back at me. Ryoza warning Kyogre. Kyogre responding, let's try together, surely both our attack something should get through. Ryoza nods and shoots big blast of fire at Kyuhinta. Kyogre gets beside Ryoza and shoots electricity at him. Kyu lifts his hand and opens a portal, sucking in both attacks. But this time he doesn't return the attack. What's going on? Kyogre asks. Did we get him? Ryoza asks. Kyuhinta begins to chuckle. Kyu opens a portal with his right hand and a shadow begins coming out from it. Once the creature climbs out the portal completely, it looks exactly like Kyogre as a shadow. Another shadow creature begins climbing out from the portal looking exactly like Ryoza. The two sages are stuck staring at their doppelgangers, uncertain of their next move. The two shadow creatures swarmed at Ryoza and Kyogre, shooting fire and electricity at them. The sages dodge out of the way. It begins to rain and Origena and Komura take to the battlefield to aid the Magerians. Origena stopping the droplets of water in mid-air and form them all into ice pin needles, and sharply striking at the shadow creatures, continually controlling the water from the rain clouds all around the battlefield. Komura teleported into the arena, gathering groups at a time and teleporting them out of the area. In the air, Kyogre and Ryoza struggle with their doppelgangers and take the fight to the ground. How are we supposed to beat these guys? It's like everything we dish out is ineffective. Ryoza asks Kyogre, who answers, not to mention their team coordination is much more organized than we are. The Ryoza shadow creature began shooting a fire blast at the sages. The Kyogre clone began fueling the blast of fire with a gust tornado, making the fire expand into a blazing cyclone and catch Ryoza and Kyogre both in the whirlwind of flames. While caught in the blaze, the Ryoza clone jumps up overhead of the sages and quickly blows black ash, trapping the sages in the smoke. Kyogre quickly responds, blowing them free out from the smoke with a whirlwind, dispersing the smoke before the Ryoza clone could make another move. Ryoza, coughing, thanks Kyogre, didn't realize what it was like to be on the other side of that. Kyogre replies, yes, I've been keeping my eyes open for that exact attack. Silent, the two clones regroup together and stands for battle. Kyogre starts to anger. Okay, now it's time we get serious. This is obviously not some ordinary shadow trick. These shadow creatures are sage-level warriors, so I'm going to fight them like sage-level warriors. Kyogre gets down on all fours and starts growling. Ryoza watches Kyogre's lead, resorting to that this is gonna get messy. Wind starts to kick up as Kyogre starts building energy, growling. Ryoza starts to grin watching his brother. This ought to be good. Kyogre lifts his head and lets out a booming howl. WWWHHWH. Thunder starts to clap and winds start to increase. The howling catches the attention of Origena, Komura and the remaining troops in the field. Just as Origena starts to look back toward the direction behind her where Ryoza and Kyogre are fighting, she is met with Q-Hinter coming straight toward her. Origena backs away and Q-Hinter shoots a shadow ball at her. She deflects by shooting water at it. Origena then starts to send ice pin needles to strike at Q, who quickly cloaks himself in a shadow shield. Komura appears from nowhere as a cheetah running at top speed, then shifts into kangaroo and launches himself straight into Q-Hinter as a triceratops. After impact, Komura shifts into a boa constrictor and starts wrapping around Q tightly. Kyogre engages hand-to-hand combat with his doppelganger, swiftly swarming him and striking him with super strength, knocking him away from his shadow clone partner. Then growling, Kyogre stalks slowly toward the Ryoza clone and the wind swirling around Kyogre begins to envelop him and taking form of a wolf. Veiled within the swirling winds beginning to grow in size with Kyogre at the center, the wolf of wind begins to attack the Ryoza clone. Electrical currents flow all around the wind wolf, charging at the Ryoza clone. The Kyogre clone starts to get up and Ryoza put his guard up. Guess it my turn. Ryoza raises both arms, reaching out at 10 and 2, then left out a loud bird screech. Flames begin to spark out from all over Ryoza's body. Ryoza starts to run towards the Kyogre clone, who was just starting to stand. Ryoza begins to run circles around the Kyogre clone and he quickly runs in to strike an opening, then continue running, circling. Ryoza's skin becomes red and the temperature raises. The Kyogre clone shoots electricity at Ryoza and he dodges, then counters, coming in to strike. On impact, flames began enveloping around Ryoza and start to take form of a phoenix. Veiled within swirling flames, the form began to grow in size with Ryoza in the center. The phoenix of flames takes off into the sky, flapping and soaring into the air, circling the Kyogre clone. The wolf of wind bites down on the Ryoza clone and electricity shocks the clone, sending charges throughout it, and like a chew toy, the wolf swings its head from left to right, holding the limp Ryoza body in its jaws. Wrapped around Q-Hinter tightly, Komura squeezes, continually increasing the pressure. Origena runs over a start to freeze them with an ice beam, encasing Komura and Q-Hinter in solid ice. Komura, stuck inside the ice Oswell, starts to move through the ice like a ghost, leaving Q-Hinter alone, frozen solid. Origena and Komura both notice Ryoza's pyro phoenix flying around in the distance. Origena looking shocked. Talking to Komura, that's Raiza's pyro phoenix. Who could they be fighting over there? Just then, inside the ice, Hinter's eye glow red and shoot a beam bursting him out from the ice. Komura and Origena look surprised, wondering what to do. Origena reaches her arms out in front of her, then roots and vines come up from out of the ground, wrapping around Hinter's arms and legs. Komura's grows in size and becomes a giant, lifting up his foot to step on he shifts his foot into stone and stomps down on Hinter. Komura returned to normal size and sees Hinter has vanished. Origena and Komura look confused. And up from the shadows raises like a phantom. Hinter begins laughing, yes, such power. Origena shoots a water blast at He opens a portal with his left palm and suck in the blast. Origena prepares to counter a return attack and begins laughing again. He raises his right hand and opens a portal, and a shadow creature begins to climb out, revealing itself looking exactly like Origena. The Origena clone opens her palm and shoots a beam of ice at Origena. Komura quickly teleports to Origena and pushes her before she could get hit. And the beam shoots right through Komura like a ghost. Hinter's hand remained with the portal open, and another shadow creature began to climb out, revealing itself looking exactly like Komura. Face to face, Komura and Origena stood to their shadow creature clones. Begins to laugh, like my new toys. Meet your replacements. Komura says to Origena, these things must be what Ryoza and Quiagra are up against. The shadow creature clones start to swim at Komura and Origena. The Komura clone teleports to Origena, kicking her in the face, then teleports again behind her, punching her in the back, then teleporting again in front of her, swinging from under with an uppercut. The Origena clone starts to create a mist fog and shoots at Komura with ice beams, ambushing his blind spots. Komura teleports to Origena and grabs her and teleports her away from the fighting. Origena getting upset with Komura, what the hell was that? Hitting Komura in the arm. Komura answers, what, those clones are powerful, I got us out of there to regroup. Origena responds, no, I mean that barrage of attacks while teleporting. Komura reacts, you act like I'm the one who attacked you. Origena turns, I just never would have thought you could do something like that. Komura answers, I didn't. Origena responds, I know you didn't. I mean with your abilities. You never showed that kind of talent when we sparred. Komura replies, well, you never blinded me with a fog and used it to your advantage to detect when I am solid and visible. The two get quiet. Komura starts to speak, I guess since these creatures have no regard for life, or feel any bond for us as family, they aren't holding back, like we may have towards each other. Those things look emotionless, like inanimate, and I guess our emotions get in the way of how we use our power. Origena responds, must be why Quiagra and Ryoza cut loose and are using their beast stances against them. Komura looks inspired, that's it. They may be able to copy our power to its fullest potential, but not what we can, or would do with it. Ryoza and Quiagra must have figured out they cannot copy our natives' fighting styles. Origena replies, knowing Quiagra, he most likely just did it to win by any means. Ryoza, engulfed in flames in the form of a phoenix, flies around circling the Quiagra clone. The pyro phoenix shoots fire out from its mouth, appearing to breathe fire, attacking the Quiagra clone. Quiagra, engulfed in swirling winds shaped in the form of a wolf, stand face off with the Ryoza clone, who seems to have not lost any energy at all. Komura and Origena appear beside the wolf form Quiagra. Komura takes a stance on all fours and begins to growl. Origena stands up straight, reaching one arm straight upward and pointed fingers horizontally while standing on one foot. Origena begins to hiss. A ghostly shroud starts to appear out from Komura like an astral hologram. Origena begins to appear to be sweating heavily. The hologram takes form around Komura, resembling a lion astral body, while water begins swirling around Origena and engulfing her, taking form of a dragon. Once fully engulfed, Origena and Komura together let out loud roars. This gets Hinter's attention. Q Hinter with the Origena clone and Komura clone head straight toward the battle to finish off the sages. The lion hologram teleports in front of the Kyogre clone, who reacts shooting electricity at him, and it goes right through. Ryoza the Pyro Phoenix breathes a ring of fire around the Komura lion and the Kyogre clone. The Ryoza clone shoots a fire blast at the Origena water dragon, who is shooting back with a water blast from the mouth of the dragon. The Kyogre wolf shoots a blast of electricity from its mouth with Origena water adding electrical power to it. Dosing out the fire blast and hitting the Ryoza with an electric charge water blast, shocking him down. Q Hinter descends into the heat of the battles, along with the Origena and the Komura shadow creatures. The attention of the beast form sages turned to Q Hinter. The Kyogre clone gets up and stands beside the Komura and Origena shadow clones. Q Hinter commands them from behind, kill them. The creatures begin to swarm the sages. Just then Q Hinter starts to look paralyzed in shock. He starts looking around, then ascends upward into the air. The sages all fighting against the shadow creatures. Q Hinter surveys the area from above. Just then the ground starts to rumble from right below the sages' feet. Everyone pauses. Is that Komura questions. Origena begins to smile. The earth begins to quake, crack and fissure. A giant pillar erupts out from the ground, raising up high and standing on top of it Stetoma with his guard up with a big rock fist to each hand. Q Hinter starts to rush over to Stetoma, charging up a shadow ball. Stetoma, looking confused, has no time to react. Quickly, Komura teleports to Stetoma and teleports him out from the arena before Q Hinter can attack him. Komura lets down his beast form, speaking to Stetoma. Good to have you back, brother. We thought we lost you. Stetoma starts to look confused. What is going on? I thought I was only gone for a few minutes. Komura responds, no brother, you have been out for a day. How did you survive? Stetoma answers, Ryoza's poison was disrupting my regenerative healing ability, so I had to get the poison out by merging with the earth, going into meditation, duplicating myself multiple times till the poison was no longer in my real body but in the fake ones made from dirt. Komura answers, you are amazing, Stetoma. Stetoma asks, what has happened while I was in trance? The sages continue to fight against the shadow creatures who don't look at all like they have been in battle at all. Origena says to Kyogre, what is up with these things? I feel like we are fighting living punching bags that don't wear or tire. Ryoza chimes in, we need a new plan. At this rate we will fall from exhaustion. Kyogre answers, with Stetoma here this changes the dynamic of everything. As long as we have him, this battle can change in our favor. We must make sure Stetoma gets nowhere close to Q Hinter so that he cannot create a Stetoma shadow clone, or I'm afraid hope will be lost. Origena responds, this must be what Q Hinter is up to create a team of sages he controls at his command that cannot tire or wither, and to do away with us. Komura and Stetoma appear with their siblings. Kyogre yells to Komura, Komura, get Stetoma out of here, we must not let Q Hinter get to him. Stetoma starts to beat on his chest and lets out a loud monkey sound. The earth around him starts to encase him and take form of a gorilla and making big rock fists to each hand. Stetoma begins to strike at the ground and creates rumbling and fissures, causing everyone to lose footing and fall down. Stetoma cries out to Komura, Komura, move everyone out of the way. Komura starts teleporting the sages and a giant sinkhole collapses, taking down all the shadow sage clones. It'll bury them. Stetoma claps his hands and the hole quickly closes with the sage clones in it trying to fight their way out. Putting his palms down on the ground at his command, the sage clones are sent deeper and deeper underground. Stetoma closes his hands to fist, pressurizing the ground around them to finish them off. Q Hinter descends in front of Stetoma. He starts to speak, impressive brother, you did what none of our other siblings could do. But that was a cheap trick. The other sages start to run back to Stetoma. Hinter becomes annoyed. Statoma asks, "What happened to you, brother?" Quiogra interrupts, "Get away from him now, Statoma." Hinter responds, "You think you have won? I'll just make more. Starting with you, Statoma." The 5 sages gather and raise their guard. A voice interrupts, "That's enough." Chase comes down, descending from the sky. "Who is that?" Statoma asks. "I am Conrad." Chase answers. Chase speaks to Hinter, "This is a bore and I'm through waiting for you to collect your toys, Hinter." Responds, "This won't take much longer, Chase. I'm getting used to these powers now. I'll have them in no time." Chase interrupts, "You don't need them." Suddenly from underground the Komura clone emerges like a ghost. The sages look shocked. Komura calls out, "Damn it. Is that what it's like being on the other side of that?" Chase watches the Komura shadow clone come out from the ground like rising like the dead. "Oh look, there's one. If he's good enough to survive while the others didn't he must be a toy worth having, right?" Chase looks at Kyu. "I wanted the whole set." Chase raises his palm towards the sages. And they all brace for an attack. The ground around them begins to glow. Hinter speaks, "That's the same symbol I placed on the ground to summon you." Chase answers, "This one's quite different." The symbol formed around the sages and it began to glow green. The eyes of the sages began to glow and they start to weaken. The glowing starts to beam up high out into the atmosphere and the sages begin to turn to stone. The sages turn toward each other and reach out their hands, and as their bodies almost became stone fully, a white light shines from their hands pointed at each other, stone continuing to encase them. Now at their wrist the white light shoot up out into the sky and throughout the atmosphere and light up the entire sky as quick as a flash, and it vanished. The sages all in a circle fully stone with their hands all in the circle together.